All right, it's 9 o'clock. Pretty good. All right, I'd like to call this Tuesday, October 28th Town Council Workshop to order. You might note that Mayor Pro Tem Deb LeCompte is online. Just for clarity, she does not count in the quorum, and I don't think there are a lot of votes, but she's also not allowed to vote, but we appreciate you joining us, Deb.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, first up is employee recognition. I guess Eric has someone? Yes, no? Oh, he's hiding in the back.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Is Tim Murphy around?
Don't act surprised. Yeah.
All right, so today we are proud to recognize a very special milestone. Tim, come on. Celebrating 20 years of service for Tim Murphy with the town of Carolina Beach. 20 years, that's pretty amazing.
He started here when he was 9.
Sorry, when he's not, yes. Tim began his career with the town as a recreation specialist, working the front desk of the recreation center, doing youth basketball games, park maintenance, everything. Legitimately, like every role in the department. Through his hard work, dedication, and leadership, he has grown into his current role as community service manager, which really fits Tim and his personality as a helper. In his current position, Tim plays a key role in coordinating special event permits, managing film logistics. He's created really good working relationships with a lot of the location scouts. He also assists with the overall management of the Parks and Recreation Department. His efforts help ensure that our community events run smoothly and that residents and visitors alike can enjoy all that Carolina Beach has to offer. On a personal note, I've had the privilege of working alongside Tim for the past 12 and a half years, and I can honestly say that I hit the coworker jackpot. Tim has been an absolute joy to work with. Managing events can be stressful at times with all the moving parts, last-minute changes, and those late-night, evening, and weekend phone calls. But somehow, with Tim at the helm, it's always enjoyable. Over the years, we've shared a lot of experiences together, from building 3 playgrounds and picking up dead wildlife. Actually, I just watched him pick it up. Got a phone call about a dead animal at the lake, and Tim grabbed his gloves, and I held the bag. And I also found out that he picked up a dead deer before I arrived.
Yeah.
So pretty wild. He does it all. Through it all, Tim has remained passionate, dependable, and always willing to jump in wherever needed. He's not only a great manager, but an awesome coworker and a true asset to our team. So Tim, on behalf of the town of Carolina Beach, it's my honor to present you with this 20-year certificate of achievement.
Thanks very much.
Aaron?
That's all he gets? A piece of paper?
That's it, yep.
He's got plenty of T-shirts.
He's got plenty of teeth.
Great job, Tim.
Glad
Yeah,
to-
good job.
Tim,
Yep.
you have one of these, right? No? Pretend you, okay, you don't, good. You're not in double giving.
I'll just add real quick that, and I know council will concur on this one, is Tim, probably the greatest compliment. Obviously, it's great to hear from your coworkers and from your elected officials, but we constantly hear from people wanting to do events and things here that they absolutely love working with you. They feel like you really sit down, talk to them, understand what they're trying to do, and I think that says a lot. I think the fact that the people you're serving recognize you, I think that's really cool. So good job.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, text amendment discussion to amend beach services to address safety issues and ATVs on the beach. Jeremy, is that you?
Let's get right after the fun ones. Up here.
Mayor, Council, good morning. So we've been working on beach services, and we're here today just to get some direction from the council to bring back an ordinance. There is a draft ordinance based off on some meetings that we've had and some information that we've gathered from town council. I just want to go over just beach services and what a permit does allow for once you obtain one from the town. Currently, the ordinance offers up to for 3 companies to have a permit. Each permit is allowed for 2 ATVs along with 2 poles on the beach to store equipment, again, for each company. The ATVs can deliver and pick up beach equipment from sunrise to sunset, and beach equipment consists of beach chairs, umbrellas, surfboards, bodyboards, tents, and the ordinance says any other beach rental item as approved by the town manager. So, you know, with that activity, the beach does get crowded because there are certainly a lot of activities occurring. We have lifeguards that are on the beach and with their ATVs and equipment. We have police. We have public works. There are classes that go. There's so surf lessons, exercise classes. There's weddings. There's 10 vendors out there with push carts. There's turtle project going on. There's special events. There are beach mats that, you know, and all this is just taking up, you know, real estate of the beach. We have our 6 ATVs that could operate on the beach as well. So with that, we at the council retreat, council directed staff to bring back some options for them to consider. So we first met with town staff consisting of public safety, police, ocean rescue, public works, those entities that are out there on the beach a lot, and just got input from them about beach services. And then we met with the beach services and asked them, how did the season go? Are there some things that we need to change? Or some things that staff could do better? And just wanted to get their input. And then from those meetings with staff and beach services, we created a survey and documented what their concerns were, what we heard, their feedback. And we asked council to fill that out. And based off that, we took the TRC to review a draft ordinance that you have in your packet. And with the discussion of this morning, the goal would be, upon council direction, is to bring back an ordinance for the November meeting. So based off that survey, we created an ordinance that what we heard. And so what the highest percentage of the answers were is what we drafted and put into the ordinance. So one was to regulate the ATVs and limit them on time periods. So in the morning you can go from 7 to 9, and then in the afternoon you can go from 5 to 8 to pick up the beach equipment and operate. Out of those times, ATVs would not be allowed on the beach. However, they still could operate their 2 poles that they have beach equipment on, and they could man those. And if they could serve their customers from those locations and still place and install beach equipment if needed. And these time periods follow the hours that we do allow for dogs on the beach as well. And one other thing I just want to mention too, just upon notification of a severe weather event, ATVs would be allowed to gather beach equipment. So just want to make that note. And this again, just where an attendant may assist customers, you know, from beach equipment with the proposed ordinance. So that's something they could do currently at any time.
So Jeremy, currently, the rules for them to be on the beach is from morning to night?
Yeah.
Is there-
So when that sunset, so that could be in the summer, it's, you know, before 6, or sunrise, and then sunset, you know, it can be closer to 9.
Okay. So what happens if someone needs a beach chair at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock?
In the morning, or in the,
Under this ordinance, under
Under that ordinance, so they could still deliver. It's just, we're just regulating the actual ATVs could not be on the beach. So they could do it by hand as if they, like Curry Beach. They wouldn't allow ATVs, but you can deliver beach equipment.
Do the ATVs have headlights?
They do.
If you're not allowed before dawn or after dark, why do you have headlights?
The way they're built.
All right, just a question. Just curious.
Jeremy, somewhere, not in the proposed ordinance, but I read in the some of the initial stuff that was sent over to us regarding the emergency lane, that staff to do a better job or to go and clearly mark the emergency lane. Where will that's not in the proposed ordinance, but
No,
Did
it's just
see that.
defined as a measurement from the dune line, from the vegetation.
but item 5 in a correspondence, and I'll go back and find it. I know I read it. It said staff to do a better job of clearly defining what the emergency lane is, correct?
Yeah, and I think I'll get to that where we talk about the placement. And one item on the questionnaire was to try to, we wouldn't have just a line of umbrellas and beach chairs on the beach, and to give opportunity for the public to place chairs as well on the beach, and is to have a 20-foot break, maybe after like 10 beach service equipment items. But after talking to TRC, this would be a difficult item to enforce. Just constantly having to count beach chairs, and just quite frankly, just the town doesn't have the resources to make sure that they're properly putting beach equipment per what the ordinance may be or may not be. The other question was, more for staff for the permitting and the enforcement of it, and to organize it within the town code and with the fee and violation schedule. So it's clearly easy to depict on what a violation is and what the fee is for that violation. So if the beach ranger is out there, it's not just a vague reference in the ordinance, it's a specific requirement that they're not meeting, and it's easily definable within the fee violation sheet or schedule. So that's something we could publish and distribute, the kind of code of conduct and rules with each permit that we give out. Define again those violations, and work with beach services, provide and create a video or material that they can give to their employees to make sure they are trained and they're knowledgeable of the regulations. One thing we did hear from Public Works is that the little tags for the reservations is that they are constantly flying and littering the beach and coming loose. So one option that staff bounced around was maybe having some type of a sleeve or something you could put these in, or you could number the equipment and says, okay, your reservation is number 27, and you look for your number 27, or some other method to reserve and to identify.
Like a sleeve, like something laminated that could be a dry erase marker, could erase the next day, there's another name on it? Like,
Yeah, something like that. That's
which wouldn't require a
it's not-
QR code or something, maybe complicated.
Yeah.
Is this really that much of a problem? The little yellow tags are all over the beach. I'm
That is-
shocked to hear that that's actually
Yeah,
an issue.
that is the feedback that we heard.
Okay.
And this is just the requirement that that we would allow for ATVs to operate on the beach for any type of weather advisory, as mentioned here. And then this is where the area of 20 feet from the easternmost edge of the dune slope or vegetation line shall be preserved for vehicular movement only. So we don't have a definition, or we do not define emergency lane in the current code. It's just that you are not allowed to place beach equipment 20 feet from the dock.
Right, I asked that only because item 1 in the background, item 2, paragraph 1, page 3, outside the emergency travel lane, reckless driving and so on. So if it's not clearly known, so where's this taking place? Nice to define it, I agree. I think that's a good start, but what is being presented to us is reckless and speeding outside of it. Speeding, that's one thing. Reckless, okay, got it. Cite it, warn it, issue a citation, and, go from there. But it's contradictory when we're now defining exactly what it is, but here it says, well, they're outside of the travel lane. That's what we've heard. But we didn't know where it was before, but now we do.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And that's one thing we wanted to clearly state what can happen within that emergency lane as far as beach services.
That was also a big part of what we talked to the beach service providers about helping us educate the public and doing some kind of educational message video or something where we could let people know. I mean, they know they're some of our best ambassadors as well as letting making sure that people are not right in front of lifeguards or in those zones. So having their employees help us with that video and working together, they will help educate everybody. And one thing that there are poles in our downtown, our public safety, public works folks didn't want to see those all the way down the beach. They put some down there before and we're having troubles with maintaining them. So the educational effort was the end result from that discussion.
Yeah, I got feedback that would be a good idea moving forward, some education. The town staff that provided input was the beach patrol. The officer that we funded a couple years ago to go and do 9 to 5 or whatever his or her duty day, did they provide feedback on any of this?
Yeah, yes, the lifeguards, Sean, head of lifeguards, was there. Leadership at the fire department, police, public works. Nobody. I don't think public utilities wasn't really involved, but everybody else was involved. All the other departments were involved.
So, I would like to hear, because if you read this, it looks like we have like a serious problem. And do we have issues? We do. I would like to hear what the beach service people said in your meeting. Did they address that there's some issues that need to be addressed? Is my question. Or are they fine with status quo?
Didn't we give them that?
Yeah, that was kind of a synopsis that that was in the last workshop that we gave to you with their some of their concerns.
We took everything on the whiteboard and we put it on paper and gave it to you. I don't know if you have it in the packet today.
No, that was
the list they put.
yeah.
Just to comment on the video, my opinion, a video would be like putting another no littering sign out. I think everybody's fully aware of how to operate a vehicle safely. If they're not, they should be licensed drivers, I assume. Now, if the video is about the beach management overall plan, that sounds reasonable. But if it was specifically to address people how their proper behavior, it will be a no littering sign, which does absolutely nothing. That's my opinion.
Here.
Well, I'm just asking.
Mike, you're a fan of signs, so I know.
True. But beach patrol, so the PD beach patrol that works in 9 to 5 mirrors ours somewhat with the beach vendors. If they provided feedback and they're acknowledging where are the warnings and the citations to correspond with the reckless driving? Because that's not something that we need to come back and add to an ordinance. Seems to me that could be something presented on the spot, if seen, or perhaps if video evidence was presented to be dealt with.
So yeah, we don't have enforcement staff that are managing this on the beach. We have one beach
We have code enforcement, and we have
code enforcement is
code enforcement to be
zoning.
called and presented with evidence.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
that is
yeah.
reckless, clearly. Thank you
Yeah.
for the video.
Yeah, if we get video, but yeah.
Yeah.
But beach patrol, so the officer we added to the municipal strand doesn't do that.
They
Yes.
definitely can do that, but that is not the number one priority. The number one priority is life safety. If they see a life safety issue, and that's one thing that Jeremy brought up in the presentation was, right now our rates and fee schedule just says beach services $50 fine, and we don't list out the specific violations, which is what we would need to do, so they could see where are they
And
violating.
I don't,
Get it with the violations and adding it, but we're saying jumping straight to the restrictions and limitations before, presenting a clean picture of what the expectations are of the drivers, where the emergency lane or the travel lane is in relation to the toe of the dune, clear, and
Do we have a clear do we have a clear definition of what, well, let's just take speeding. Do we have a speed limit? I mean, how do we know what speeding is? Because when a vehicle goes past you 5 feet from your chair, 20 mile an hour is ridiculously fast. So it's all relative, right? So do we even have that defined?
I don't think so.
In Freeman Park, we do have a speed limit, but we do have a careless and reckless that they could cite.
Okay.
and in the careless and reckless, as you were mentioning earlier, they're driving down the highway and you see a police officer, you're not going to speed. Same with the beach. No one's going to careless and reckless when they see the beach patrol. Yeah.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
And I just want to also bring to your attention just what's in the current ordinance now. This is for placement of beach equipment. This isn't specific to beach services. This is for any beach equipment, public visitors, any private companies. But no beach equipment shall be allowed on the beach at any time within 20 foot of the easternmost edge of the dune or the vegetation line. So you can't put any equipment within that area. And then also at beach accesses and emergency access points, there's a 25-foot parameter that you're not allowed to put any equipment within. Also, no beach equipment shall be placed in front of a lifeguard stand for a distance of 10 feet north or south or of a direct line between the stand and the Atlantic Ocean. Depending on conditions, emergency personnel may impose greater setbacks on a case-by-case basis. So that authority is there to enforce.
does our ocean rescue captain have that discretion to go out and make clear today? I know that's probably not codified.
It does, but if it seems like it's getting into a more of an aggressive conversation,
Yeah.
they'll call the beach ranger or police.
And somebody may say, show me where you have the,
Yeah,
What
but
you're
it
asking
is
me
a
to
common practice, lifeguards, to ask people either, can you slide your tent over, or
Yeah.
can you lower your tent down?
I think we heard this from beach services. A lot of times will help us with that.
yeah.
But as soon as we move and get the people, tell them to move over, and they get set back up, the lifeguard gets set back up, somebody else takes that spot again. So it's a constant battle.
If we move the lifeguard stands closer post-renourishment, maybe we have that, flexibility. We'll have more beach, presumably, but I know that's a moving target, so to speak. But moving the lifeguard stands closer to the ocean, further away from the dune, would that then, first you get a quicker access to a rescue in a rip or what have you, and maybe less of the beach being restricted? Was that something that,
Yeah, and then it's conversations we've had, because right now, our lifeguard stands are heavy. Once they're put in place, it's difficult for them to move, and a lot of times they don't move. And they are as far back as possible from the beach, the activity that they're supposed to, the water that they're, monitoring.
I've seen those lifeguards. I bet two of them could carry one of those over their shoulder.
Yeah, so we have discussed more mobile lifeguard stands that we could place closer to the water.
But Jeremy, just so I understand, so in the current ordinance, the lifeguard, I mean, the reason that they're having those, my opinion, I don't want to tell them how to do their job because I do not have that expertise, but the reason they're having to tell people and tell people and tell people is because there's no visual up there that don't set up between these. I mean, I've been to beaches where the lifeguards come out and they simply put out cones. They look at the water and they put a cone here and they put a cone here, and you don't set up between the cones. Pretty simple. So I mean, it's their discretion to do that. I'm not trying to tell them how to do their job, but there is, what you're telling me is there is a capability to solve this problem already in the ordinance. That's really up to the lifeguards to figure out how to enforce that.
Yeah, they do have, the authority.
So they could go out today and put a cone 10 feet north and south of the lifeguard stand at the crest of the, whatever, what do we call that?
We've talked to them about that, and I think that is their plan for next season.
Okay, okay. Now, I do understand that you got people out there that are already set up when they get there, so that they're going to have to figure that out, how to move them. Okay.
Just next steps, as I mentioned before, just here to receive direction from council. No action is being requested. Based off comments, we would draft the ordinance, or modify the ordinance for council to consider at the November 12th meeting. At that time, there will be an opportunity for the public to speak.
So why don't we have the public comment piece first and then draft the ordinance after the fact?
This is something we're working
mean,
quickly on to try to set up so the beach services vendors, they would know kind of to be able to have a chance to prepare for next season. Typically at the workshop meetings, we do not, allow for the public to speak, certainly at pleasure of council. So we're just trying to work within those confines.
Yeah, well, I think
Draft an ordinance, but after we hear from public comment, let's say.
we can change the ordinance to whatever we want after
Yeah.
public comment.
Yeah.
Right? Not that to sound all powerful, but
Right.
it is our
I got
discretion to set
Gotcha.
that.
And council could certainly, you're not obligated to adopt anything in November. You could say, hey, based off feedback, can you bring us back something at a prior?
That's fair.
Right. And I do think we gave direction. I mean, obviously, the best people to solve this problem are the people working on the beach, the town people working on the beach and the beach services people, because they know what goes on out there better than any of us. So I think there are two competing issues here in my mind. Number one, obviously, the priority is public safety. Is everybody, I mean, we got to do whatever we got to do if we think we have a safety issue. I think that's just the responsibility number one. But a competing issue is equal access. Jeremy, will you, well, let me just state what equal access for everybody else. So we manage a public trust beach. We do not own the beach. We cannot rent the beach. We are entrusted by the state of North Carolina to protect their resource, right, to manage it. And a part of that is equal access, right? So there has to be equal access. If you will float back through those slides. I don't remember exactly. Hang on. Okay, stop there. Go to that one. So if you look at the picture at the lower left-hand side, does that look like equal access to you? If you were a visitor, the state of North Carolina says this is your beach. Town of Carolina Beach manage it for us. Does that look like equal access to you? It does not. The picture on the right does look like equal access to me. Okay, keep going. Whoop, hang on. Hang on, I got to catch up to your pictures.
Okay.
Okay, so look in front of the Marriott. Does that look like equal access to you? It does not. That is a big issue. And the reason it's a big issue, it's not a big issue for me personally, but it's a big issue in that we're entrusted to protect that for the residents of the state of North Carolina. And it won't be us that shuts this process down. It'll be the state. So I think it's incumbent upon council and the vendors to find a way that that does not become a problem. Because they do a great job, they provide a valuable service. It even came, as you guys all got this flurry, I don't know who organized the email campaign, but it didn't go the way they thought. The email campaign that council received basically said, we want preferential access. That's basically the summation of the emails that I got. I run a VRBO, I want you to go up there and reserve a spot for my resident. So what you're doing is you're profitizing the public beach. That's not good. That is my safety I think we can solve, but I don't know how to solve that problem. I do think limiting four-wheelers is in conflict with this, because if you
do that,
if you limit the four-wheelers, then they're going to go out there and reserve more spots in the morning, right? So I don't know how to balance those two things. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up the public access because I think that's a massive concern. And the email that we got from people validated that. I had one lady say, oh, it's like living at a luxury resort. Yeah, it's not a luxury resort. It's a public trust beach, right? I mean, so it was enlightening. The emails were enlightening. I mean, I always appreciate people writing, but it was enlightening. Is the
I'd
problem.
be curious feedback as to if defining a distance between 4 chairs, 3, 2. I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, I
I'm
struggle with
I'm
that.
trying to figure out if there's a way. Hey, what do you got? What seems reasonable to you? A give and take, so that you can say, walk between chairs to get there.
I agree with you, Joe, and I think this is my position on that, though. I think the best people to help define that are the beach,
That's
the
what
vendors
I'm
themselves.
looking out there now.
I don't think we can sit here. I think we can make up stuff, right? We can say, okay, you got to have every 40 feet, 20 feet, and then what are we going to do? We're going to have somebody out there with rulers trying to. It's just not going
Or
to.
they could be staggered. I mean,
It's-
I see what you mean by a line. It almost,
Well, you notice that no one in that picture right there, nobody set any umbrellas up behind that line. Right? We preserve the line, protect the paying customer. The example I told a resident was, imagine if we allowed vendors to sell the seats at Thursday night fireworks. No resident would be able to get close to it because there'd be a bunch of unoccupied seats up there that people paid for, and you're selling your public event to the highest bidder, which is what you're doing here.
so we'd be asking presumably somebody, not the set-aside code enforcement, beach patrol or the ocean rescue captain, or leave the lifeguards to watching what's happening in the water, and then figure out what's day-to-day, contextual, flexible.
I guess I just don't, I think the vendors have to solve this problem. I hate to say that.
With
but-
the vendors.
I agree with that piece.
Yeah, I mean, we can come up with some heavy-handed ordinances, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it's gonna probably kill their businesses, and we may as well just get rid of beach services, because it's not gonna be workable for them. We don't know, it's not gonna be enforceable by us. It seems like this is a community problem we need to get together with them and solve, the equal access
I think
piece.
someone said
The safety piece is on us, right? I think we have to make the rules.
they are ambassadors for our town.
Huge.
So I can't imagine
No.
not having.
I also will point out, it was pointed out by a bunch of people, but I think the vendors also noted it, is let's don't get too crazy because the beach's pretty narrow this year, right? I do think there's a piece of this that is, I mean, just in the picture that I noted, if you look where the wet sand is, how much space is there really to, you know what I mean? So I don't want to go crazy here.
By the way, there's 200 trash cans in that picture.
200.
Yeah, good riddance on that.
I know. So we actually have more beach.
Because we got, exactly. Anyway, that was my thoughts, was the equal access piece is a tougher nut to crack, and I think that's going to require awareness and more work. I think there's going to have to be more work between the vendors and town staff on how to actually do that without making something unenforceable. So, okay, so I said my piece on equal access. What do you guys, Mike, what do you think about the safety issues?
yeah,
or anything else?
Well, I agree with you about the safety. Look, put it in the lifeguard's hands. let them do. I'd rather talk about the equal access. You made a very valid point that it's not our beach. It's everybody's beach. And I think that sometimes we have to refresh our memory to you guys in the audience. It's not your beach either. All right? This beach is not here for you to profit, for you to run your business. We want your business. I want your businesses out there. But it ain't yours. Remember that. You got to always remember that. Nobody wrote emails about this, but they sure do talk to me about it, which is I get up to the beach and there ain't nowhere to go because it's all blue tents and nobody's in them. It is, and I don't think it's a big issue now, but I think it's trending that way. You're getting more and more people who are just every Saturday and Sunday I rent a chair and umbrella because look, it's not that expensive. It's a relatively inexpensive service. So you're getting more and more people. You all know where I live. I live in Carolina Sands. Okay, we've got a condo building right in front of us. So we get up there on a Saturday morning and it's pretty socked in before we even get there. You've seen it, Lynn. And more people are getting to a place where they can afford to just rent them for, so again, I'm not going to say it's a big issue now, but it does feel like it's trending that way. So we got to be aware of this. If I go up and there's empty blue umbrellas, I'll sit right in front of it. But a lot of people aren't comfortable doing that. They are afraid they're going to get in a fight, and they might. So I have a general issue with that. And look, I generally always talk about the beach as a refuge and where it should feel calm and peaceful to a certain degree. And sometimes it just feels like I'm on a highway up there. I mean, I have gone up there and watched ATVs roaring past families on blankets. At 5 in the afternoon when go boys are hustling, getting their stuff. And get my chairs, get my umbrellas, and get out of here. And I see it with my own eyes. I also recognize that some people are getting older and can't necessarily drag their own chairs and umbrellas up there. And they that's a very valuable service to them. It's not just, the rich person or the Airbnb owner who wants it to be, more profitable for them. And some people can't quite pull it off. So I have no desire to make to take the services away. If you'll bear with me, I'm going to just run through a couple of these items, and I'll tell you where I stand, so you can know. Number one, motor vehicles on the beach, ATV limits. I was originally on the side. I was one of the 80% that thought no in the middle of the day. I'm backing off of that. And the more I research and understand that sudden winds come up, people move them when they weren't supposed to, people have problems with them. But what currently it's, so if I can change my stance on that one, Jeremy, I think the one that's currently 20%, one north of Hamlet and one south of Hamlet. I mean, I think we could at least pull back a touch so we're not, that just takes a little bit of the traffic off the beach, but it still allows these guys access to get and service their customers. And if that means that somebody calls at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and wants a chair and umbrella 5 minutes ago, well, too bad, honestly. We give people an option. If you want to come to Carolina Beach and get a chair and umbrella, you can get one. If you want to show up at Carolina Beach at 2 o'clock and order one immediately, well, maybe that's not going to work out. But no one can say you don't have an option. Visibility and placement of beach equipment. Number two, I was the one who brought up some type of a break between them, and I'm understanding where this is almost unenforceable. Some of this stuff I'm reminded of when our kids were little and they wouldn't follow their chore chart, and we would go around and around trying to get them to do it, and Janet would say, what we need is a new chore chart. We need a new system. And I'd be like, babe, we don't need a new system. We need to enforce the system we got. And I feel like that's where we are with a lot of this stuff. And I don't know the answer for the enforcement, quite honestly. I do, however, think we should get rid of canopies and tents. It's bad enough as it is to have a bunch of unoccupied umbrellas up there, taking up space that nobody can sit in, but the tents and the canopies, they just take up that much more space. They cut down the visibility that much more. So if it was up to me, I'd say no more canopies and tents.
Shambui or whatever they call those things.
Are you saying for everyone or for beach?
No, for services.
Okay.
Look, if you want to lug that up there on your own, Lynn, and set up that 10 by 10, God bless you. But if you want to just swipe a credit card and have one magically waiting for you that you might not use, no. Because, if a service goes up and puts a 10 by 10 up, it's there all day. If you go up and put up a 10 by 10, it's pretty much there while you're there, and when you leave, you take it down. So it's not as unattended. And then as far as like the number 3, permitting and publishing codes and conducts, sure, of course I agree with posting the fees clearly and this and that, but again, I don't know what,
Sounds like we're doing that here.
how we, again, it comes back down to enforcement. Is a $50 fine really a discouragement for bad actions? I doubt it. But then again, you say, oh, make it a $500 fine. No police officer or nobody's going to ever want to be the guy who wrote that ticket. So what good does that do, right? It's like the $1,000 ticket for going on the beach. Dude, what police officer is going to write that ticket? It's so absurdly huge that they'd never actually enforce it as such. Trash on the beach. I can't believe these guys would be throwing any of that equipment in town containers at all anyway. I don't even get that one, so fine. And it sounds like y'all are working out your ID systems. I was shocked to hear that's a problem. And now, and back to the times. So I'm sorry, I'm going back to the beginning, but the times, when you talked about 7 to 9 and 5 to 8, but we do dawn to dusk, right? That's the scenario?
Sunrise to sunset.
Well, okay. All right. So I agree with that, not a hard time. But, yeah, dawn to dusk, sunrise to sunset, that needs to mean what it means. There shouldn't be ATVs up there. There's no reason to see the ATVs with lights on them at the beach, right? Carrying umbrellas. Is that reasonable to assume that you would not be using your lights if you're out there before before sunset? So anyway, that's where I stand. I don't think any of this is a massive problem right now, but I do think it's trending that way, and we should be aware, and that 5 and 10 years from now, it may very well be. And we do need to cool it on the beach. I don't want to have to tell my future grandchild to make sure you look both ways before you walk across the sand. That's not the point of going to the beach. That's it.
Yeah.
Joe?
I think I've said quite a bit. I do think that the 4 of us here, Deb will join us in a few weeks, are probably close relating as it regards to lifeguards, where the stand, the visibility, marking it off. There's definitely some confluence there. I go back to enforcement, presentation of data. Safety issues to me means let us walk you through what we've seen, what we've collected, and then acted on to give you additional in other ordinance or some other nuance for us to get after and enforce. So if that which isn't being enforced now hasn't yet, fine, let's get after it. I like the work that you're doing on rates and fees, clearly posted, come get your permit. As far as ATVs, I say no change, number one. Number two, as Lynn pointed out, that call an audible on that one, that would be an other. If it were there, beach vendors can help us define what that looks like. And I think that they're going to be reasonable. They're stewards, ambassadors of the beach. They're not going to want anything unsafe or to deny somebody. Number
About
three.
canopies and tents, Joe.
Huh?
What about
Yeah.
canopies and tents? Where are you?
I don't know if they're even doing those. If they are well, then I think, yeah, that has been a visibility problem for ocean rescue, so I see that as being what
But
you laid
if it
out.
was
We
up
don't
to
have
you,
it.
would you allow canopies and tents
No.
with them from the vendors?
No. Umbrellas and chairs.
Okay.
Because we did say, and we did give specific guidance, I do recall, to minimize the obstacles that are in front of and the peripherals of our ocean rescue. First and foremost, public health, safety, welfare, that's our mission, right? Anything that stands in the way of that. Yeah, I see the work here, number 3, post violations fees, code of conduct, and I don't, address the issues on the spot. Number 4, this seems to be a one-off, the disposing of my equipment in a dumpster, how many times has that happened? So deal with it discreetly. I like laminating a dry erase marker that says Smith, the next day it's Jones. QR codes could get confusing. One could imply, I like that QR code better, it's closer to the ocean, this one sucks, I'm gonna go to this one, and feign ignorance. Number 5, I think that's happening now. All the ATVs, however this shakes out, assemble, teamwork, get after the challenge of picking up flying obstacles or spears, tents, winds pick up and there's a storm coming. I watched that happen during the, in August at one of the music festivals. So that's good. And that's where I am. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I'll be quick.
Why do I doubt you?
No, I'll be quick.
I'm going to want to know how you feel about canopies and tents.
ATVs, I'm okay with ATVs being on the beach all day long. If they have 2, if we cut it down to 1, that's fine, but they've got a business to run. Canopies and tents, I'm absolutely fine with it. Why not give our visitor the best experience they can have? If it's a canopy, if it's a tent, let them have it. We're a beach. The only other statement I'm going to have is, whatever decision we make, we're going to have to trust the owners of these businesses to enforce it. And the reason I say that is it's hard. It's hard for us to enforce it as a town. We only have so much manpower. So we're going to rely and trust you guys to do this. That's all I have.
Deb, you're with us. Do you want to throw? I just want to make sure it's unusual to have someone on Zoom, so I want to make sure we're not skipping you. If you'd like to provide some commentary.
Oh, that's okay. I had actually planned, I'll send mine in a detailed email, but I'm kind of general consensus that I think restricting the ATVs as far as deliveries, I don't like seeing the ATVs going up and down the beach all day long. Just kind of, it seems like they're just riding around. But I would say if they have deliveries to make, they should absolutely have access to the beach because it is a service. It is a valuable service. I think Jay is correct in saying that we're going to have to depend on our vendors themselves to actually enforce what we're doing. And I think the laws are there. It's already I think we already have the rules that we need. We just need to enforce what we have. So that's my thoughts.
One other thing.
Now,
Canopies and
But I'll
tents,
put-
Deb.
the canopies and tents, well, I personally have a granddaughter who has sensory issues. She's autistic. And if we don't have a canopy on the beach, she's not going to be on the beach. So I think there's needs for the tents, and people with visitors don't always have the access to bring a tent with them or a canopy with them. So I'm okay with canopies.
Those are good points, Deb and Jay, and I think I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I'm talking line of sight away from the lifeguards and that which is in front of them, so.
Yeah, line of sight is an issue because I don't want my lifeguards not being able to see the beach or the ocean because that's their job. That's what they're there for, is for the safety of the people who are in the ocean. So they need to be able to have access to see what's going on.
So I've got one other point, and that is Mike mentioned it about the $50 fine. I don't think $50 fine is enough. I think maybe we raise that to $100 or $200 fine to make it real, right? And that, all you need is to get one of those, and that's for like reckless driving and stuff like that. Not for litter, but for public safety purposes.
Right now, you have a provision that says if you get 3 violations, your beach services is revoked, and you have to come back to council to get it reinstated.
That's a good one. I think that's a good one. We already have that.
That's in there now.
Yeah.
Force.
All right. Did everybody? I'll go. So, I guess I'm picking up where Mike left off about looking. What's this look like in 10 years? The problem here, in my mind, is the business model is wrong. The business model is that we're going to run a centralized delivery service from a central point, and we're going to deliver. We're using it to reserve space. It's not about umbrellas and tents. It's for most people. It's about reserving space on the beach. That's my opinion. And we're going to run it from a centralized place, which then that's what's driving the ATVs flying up and down the beach, because we're doing a centralized. In most beaches I've been to, they don't allow unattended stuff on the beach, right? There's a vendor. There was a picture that Jeremy threw up in one of the slides of there are chairs and umbrellas out there, and there's a person sitting out there, and you can go to that person, you can rent it, and they'll come set it up for you. That's how it works, at least in my experience. So what we've done is we've implemented a different business model, and that's what's driving all the ATV traffic. So that's my. I have a big concern with unattended things on the beach, because if you want to use an umbrella from 10 to 2, well, it's not out there from 10 to 2. It's out there from 7:30 to 5:30 or whatever, right? So you're creating congestion on the beach and reserving a space for no one that's there. And as it gets more and more congested, you're going to run out of beach, right? You just don't have enough beach for this unattended service out there. So with that said, I don't think we're going to get to fix all that in one season. So I don't think these guys can move. I don't think it is the business model that they have. And I think they deserve some time to think through this stuff and see if we can't morph it over a longer period of time. So I'll go through the list again. I agree with Mike on number 1. I think I voted for the 7 to 9, 5 to 8 as well, if I remember correctly. I've certainly learned a lot from the vendors about their service. I think that's probably going to be too revolutionary instead of evolutionary for them to be able to react to. I do like that concept. I still like it long term. I just don't think you can get there this quick. As far as the one ATV north and south, if that works for the vendors, that's a step in the right direction, right? I just don't know how that affects their business. So I don't think you're going to get rid of. I don't think we can get rid of ATVs on the beach this year without significant upset to their business. And I agree with something Jay said. They are fantastic ambassadors. They are the beach ambassadors, and they do a fantastic job. So we certainly want them to be successful. Visibility of beach equipment. Man, I really like that 20-foot break at 10 beach after 10. The problem with that is that I noticed in one of the pictures is every strand of beach is not the same. In front of a hotel, in front of the Marriott, you're going to have a lot, because generally residents don't go in front of the hotels, right? It's the hotel vendors. So you're going to have this rule that might make sense in one area but doesn't make any sense in another area. So I'm not sure how to.
Help us figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, help us figure out what that needs to look like. On the canopies and tents, Mike, I don't know. I don't think renting canopies and tents is an issue. I think it's the location of canopies and tents. So I would personally say that you continue to allow canopies and tents, but you do limit them in location. And I'm making this up off the top of my head. I don't know if this even makes sense, but, canopies must be, rental canopies can't be further than 20 feet from the emergency lane toward oceanward or something. You got to move those things back. I still have a problem with them being out there unoccupied all day. Which is also why the vendors need the ATVs to go pick up all the umbrellas, is because they're left out there unattended. If there's somebody with them, you wouldn't have to have that. You wouldn't have to do that. So that's my thing on canopies and tents. I would be more location. I'd have a preference more for a location restriction than a can't do. Now, if none of our vendors are currently renting canopies and tents, then I would make them illegal. Let's just stop that right now, right? If they currently have a business model, then let's give them a chance to adapt to on location. That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, where am I? I think everybody agrees with the violations and fees. I do like the sort of 3-strike rule. I wasn't aware we had that. That's a good one. Provide a reusable, non-detachable. I guess I need to know more about that one. If it were me, I would think, and this may be the most naive comment of the day, I would just number everything and get rid of these tags and say, I think you brought it up, didn't you, Joe? Somebody brought it up as your number 17. Okay, good.
No, I think what I was thinking is, if I was 16 and 16 somewhere back towards the dunes and 17's in a more ideal spot, I might feign ignorance and walk to 17. Maybe,
You're saying you prefer a name. Okay, okay. I'll let the vendors.
Laminated, dry erase.
I'll let the
change
vendors
next day.
figure that out. I'm good with that. Whatever, some way to do it.
Something like
I'm okay prohibiting equipment in town containers because I don't think that's I guess I've never seen rental equipment in a town container, but it got on here somehow, so,
It's a one-off,
I don't know.
maybe.
yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to kind of hide whose equipment it is. if it's in-
And obviously, number, the remove equipment on a wind advisory, I think they do that already. I hope they're doing that already. So I'm supportive of that. That's my
Yeah.
rundown of the list. Ed seems to want to say something.
Oh, the wind advisory is a non-issue if we don't limit that was if we did the 7 to 9 and the.
Oh, okay. So you need that. Can we address the ATV? I just want to go back over the ATV issue again, because I do think that is a dramatic change for their business. Is everybody? I thought I heard everyone say we're okay with the ATV. Somebody said north and south. I'm just trying to. What was your position on?
I like the idea of one north, one south, so you still have access all day. You still have equipment. You still can get your ATV on the beach. You can still fix an umbrella that's messed
Just
up.
cuts down the traffic. is what
But
you're-
just cuts down the traffic.
Okay, Joe, where are you on
That's
that?
work, I'd say start no change, enforce what's on the, what we're about to define as reckless, the driving lane and so on. But if it doesn't make business impossible or puts an unnecessary constraint, because we haven't defined what it is yet, exactly what reckless and so on, then one north, one south would be achievable.
I'm fine with the way it is now, as long if we can enforce it, which is the
Yeah.
big question mark.
It goes back to that, yeah.
Have any comment on ATV specifically? I was just trying to. I know that's one of the bigger issues.
I have a quick comment on ATVs. I mean, can you put governors on these things? What would that do to you? Put a governor on it, can't go over 12 miles an hour or whatever the speed limit is? I mean, if we don't want an ATV doing 25 miles an hour down the beach, why do we allow an ATV that can go 25 miles an hour on the beach? Because 19-year-olds going to be 19-year-olds, folks, from here till eternity.
Sounds like experience, Mike.
If I was 19-year-old, I'd drive like a knucklehead out there, but first
would
to
too.
admit it, I think everybody here would. You can train them up all you want, but a month in, one foot's dangling out of the thing, and one hand's got a cell phone in it. I mean, you know how kids are. But if they can't go that fast, is that a solution, guys?
I don't know.
It's a thought.
Right.
I don't think so.
So you need them to go 25.
That's the
They're
problem.
Policing a storm before a storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. we define what 25 is speeding, then, officer discretion too, or code enforcement discretion.
Yeah, I think everybody who, I was 19 at one point too, and I can tell you I knew what being a fool was because I did it too often, but I knew when I was doing it.
Saturday morning, I'm going to class because and I'm 55, so I get it.
Okay. Any other comments on the ATV? Deb, did you have any specific comments?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it. This to me, again, it's a safety issue, and the speed is part of the problem. And like Mike said, feet dangling off the ATV and a cell phone in one hand, and just flying down the strand. So that's the issue for me. So, but that to me is an enforcement by the owners and people basically reporting those drivers to the owners of the vendor, the beach vendor permit, and the vendor actually having to take care of their employees. That's an employee issue. Does that make sense?
Anybody, did you get the feedback you think you needed, or was it just as confusing as when we got here?
I think we're good. Yep.
Yeah, I would just encourage that the town and the beach vendors get together and figure out what this business model looks 5 years from now. Because in my opinion, the way we're going is we're heading toward taking this service away. That's what I fear, and I don't want that to happen. So if we don't get together and proactively manage these issues, equal access and safety, eventually there will be a council sits up here and says, okay, we've talked about this for 5 years, I'm done. And that's not good for the beach, it's not good for our visitors, it's not good for obviously not good for the vendors. So I think we're gonna have to address some of these issues. I just don't think you can take that swipe at it in real time. It's more complicated than that. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, I think everybody had their say. You got what you needed. Obviously, this all comes back. You'll morph that into something and bring back an ordinance, and then we'll hear from the public, and which will also include the vendors. And but I do appreciate you guys getting together ahead of time. I think that's the way to do this, because the vendors, the beach services providers, are the people who know this better than anybody. So they definitely should be involved. All right, next up is adopt a procurement policy for federal and state grants. Debbie?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. We met with DEQ a couple of weeks ago to finalize the AIA grant, which is American Rescue Plan funds that flowed through the state. And we were informed that we needed a procurement policy that specifically addressed federal procurement regulations that is council approved. So we didn't have one that was council approved. So we tried to make this comprehensive where it will cover both federal and state grants going forward. So we will have this policy whenever we are applying for grants and someone asks for the procurement policy.
So adopting this, of course, is contingent, or the receipt of phase 1 and 2 with our RCCP grant is contingent upon having these
Correct.
mandated procurement policy in place.
Correct. So I just needed council to approve the policy.
Recently, a statute recently adopted at the federal level, or was it something that was always there and we just can see how it might not be something that we'd be aware of until it's brought to your attention, like, hey, start doing this. State agencies with their money going, we get audited, we're sending it out to municipalities that don't have a procurement.
Yes, but we had a procurement policy. It just wasn't as detailed as they would like it to be, and it was not council approved as far as I know, because that was one we had in place for a long time. So this one's more updated, has the updated federal requirements and state requirements for procurement processes.
So Debbie, if I understand what you're telling us is we are just documenting and approving the policy that the procedures that we currently have. We're not.
This is a whole new policy. That,
but are there any new rules? Is there anything different than the way we've been running the town?
Oh, no. We've been following the procurement policies
that's what I thought.
whenever we go out to.
So this is just
receive funds
formalizing
from
what we
grants.
currently do.
Yes, something we already do, we just didn't have the council-approved
I got
policy.
you. I'm good with that.
They are wanting us to provide.
Somewhat of a formality.
Any questions from anyone? All right, so we do need a vote on that one, so make a motion to approve the Town of Carolina Beach procurement policy as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Debbie,
Thank you.
thank you. Next up, discuss options for the St. Joseph right-of-way parking. Jeremy, is that you?
Thank you again. And good morning. This is an item that started with direction from council with a text amendment for marina regulations that wanted, we got feedback from planning and zoning and also town council about looking at off-street or on-street parking on St. Joseph Street. When reviewing St. Joseph and analyzing kind of the character of the area, St. Joseph to staff is two different classifications. One is more of a residential feel. It's low density. There are some townhomes, but overall feel it is just a lot of single family, low density, residential. Everything past the Publix once you get into the neighborhood. Going south of Publix, it's a lot more commercial, and the current activity that is happening in the right of way, there is a lot of parking that is happening and that are visiting the businesses there.
We don't have any of this designated as town parking or paid that I'm aware of. Right?
No, right now it's just it's allowed with. There's no designation of St. Joseph Street. It's not residential parking. It's just there's no parking regulations.
So just thinking through like what potential spaces we might lose, well, will lose based on the angle after the repainting with the repaving. Following the repaving, there'll be the repainting. Can you harvest any on this potentially?
Yes, and hopefully soon there will be a multi-use path that will change some of the available parking in that area as well. One area that is highly used is in front of the Neapolitan.
Could any of this be something that goes to the Army Corps of Engineers magic number of 767?
I believe it's a quarter of a mile you have to be from a beach access, and this would be outside of that area. So this would be more of just, it wouldn't be meeting that requirement, but you may be, if you decide to place some designated parking, you could be meeting the needs of those businesses that are currently using it. Another opportunity, just look if there was to have public parking, is in front of the Carolina Beach boatyard on St. Joseph Street. Looking at just opportunities, another one that cars are currently parking at is across from Tom's Marine. That is a large right-of-way there off of Yacht Drive. The town is looking at making some improvements there. We've been talking to the residents in the area and seeing what we can do just for safety issues and to really define the road in that area with markings and curb area. But it's still on the south side of the Yacht Road, leaves some availability for public parking if the town so chooses to do that. And also, just the last resort, there's parking currently happening in the right-of-way and also at Winter Plaza. So this is just a rough sketch of where the multi-use path is going to cross over on St. Joseph Street. So it may remove some of the available parking spaces, especially for Winter Plaza. So this is the multi-use path full design stretch of that. And so if we would like to define parking, like I said, there's opportunities there. And currently St. Joseph is a very wide road as far as pavement width. It's 28 feet. That's it's probably the widest road that's in town, actually, for one lane traffic. Another one is we could define and look at around the last resort. And then also, this would be in front of, off of Yacht Basin. So just looking at that, that was just some areas that currently parking is taking place. We could look at improving it, make it actually designated that as parking spaces. And in doing that, and that's more for I'll say the business portion of St. Joseph, and come up with a rule or regulation and could adopt it that says you just prohibit parking from any outside of any designated parking area. That's clearly defined.
Makes sense. I like the addition with the acknowledging we're going to lose some spaces on Lake Park for good reason, for line of sight purposes. And none of what we'd be considering here, if we're going to adopt something here, could potentially contradict with when the state adopts a budget and the parking is, who knows what it's, we know it's going to change. That this isn't tied to a particular zoned use. So, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And the other options council consider is just designate St. Joseph Street like we have in residential areas, just for residential parking only. If you have a pass, you can park there. If you don't,
Like when you get north of,
Third.
Publix, or you mentioned at that point,
Yes.
you're out of the commercial or.
Or if council so chooses, they could just prohibit parking all on the right of way of St. Joseph Street, regardless if you have a residential pass or not. So those are the three options that council could consider.
Your last resort.
Um,
Like that.
And then all items, or all of those would prohibit parking north of, Publix, once you get into the residential areas.
With the same stipulations as we did just recently for the north end.
Yeah, unless you wanted to say, you know what, if you do have a residential pass, you can park in the right of way,
Yeah.
if you wanted to go that route. I just want to lay out some options for council to consider, and staff will answer any questions you may have.
So when you talk about designate parking along St. Joseph, would that then be paid parking?
That is a council policy. That is up to if council would like to go that. But right now, we could just, the idea is just to designate those spaces safely for, how it's currently being used.
Designated safe.
I mean, are we experiencing issues out here? I mean, I see there's cars, but I've never noticed any safety hazards. What's spurring this on?
It was council directed staff to look into the issue.
We did.
Yeah, I think the issue, Mike.
Sorry, I don't remember that.
I think the issue, if I recall, is, and I don't remember the whole discussion, but I think it had to do with a lot of these spaces, they're not spaces, but the way people are parking, it's creating a lot of backing out into the street
Right.
kind of stuff. And I think the idea was it would be much better if we had a plan and we marked or designated the parking in such a way, in other words, to provide, if we have more control over the traffic flow and where people park, and we can make it a little bit better if we just designate it. I think that was the idea, as opposed to the free-for-all that's going on there now. Not anybody's fault, it's just,
Yeah.
it's just never been looked at
Yeah.
and cleaned up, so.
There are very issues why there's, using the right of way as overflow parking, but they are businesses. I think it came from that marina. Just wanted to make sure that all of, parking, especially for the marina, was being on site, and they were using their parking that is required on site. But it's a little bit bigger issue of how St. Joseph, I think, is being utilized, and you have multiple businesses, patrons that are parking in the right of way. So just some options to be able to address what's
So-
currently happening.
I'll go through your list here. So, I do like the idea of creating south of Publix, designated parking. Sit down, draw it out, where can you park, and let's mark that. It could just be bump stops or signs, whatever is, I don't think we want to go to paid parking down there. I mean, we can discuss that later, but I don't think that's the goal right now. I do like the north of Publix. Quite honestly, I would do resident parking only, just to be consistent with the rest of town rather than no parking, because then you get in a situation of why can people park in front of my house, but they can't park in front, you know what I mean? Let's just be consistent and call that residential only. I like that. That would be my 2 cents.
Okay.
Is that where, at that point, is that when you go from highway business to R1, a residential zoned area, right there past Publix or at Publix? So
Yeah.
it's consistent
But-
with zoning as well, that demarcation?
Yeah, certainly could designate that.
Yeah, the real question though, Jeremy, is would you want to designate parking if you know the multi-use path is going there? Or would you just rather make that no parking now, since you know you're going to take it out?
Well, when this.
Well, you get down that far, with or without a sign, almost nobody's ever parked
I agree,
right of
I
way
agree.
down there, so I wouldn't even touch it personally.
Well, I meant in the sections up where on the southern part, where your multi-use path is going to come through there. I certainly wouldn't want to go spend money paving spaces and putting bump stops or doing anything like that if I'm just going to dig it up and put a multi-use path there. Rather just go ahead and make it no parking.
Right.
That was my point.
When the multi-use
Yeah,
path.
yeah, we would, those areas that are identified for public parking that we could improve are outside of the multi-use path.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Right, so currently the multi-use path ends at proximity. So my take would be from there south, I wouldn't do anything right now because we're going to make such a big change. I just wouldn't even get involved in it.
Right, I think we're saying the same thing. I wouldn't designate it. I wouldn't go out there and do any work on it.
Yeah, they could change the path itself, I mean, that's not out of the realm of possible. How many years has it been since?
Well, sometimes a little chaos actually makes streets safer. People are backing out, parking funky, makes everybody pay a little more attention, and it slows things down. So I don't really feel like there's any need to personally do anything over there.
So I think for Publix North, it should be residential parking only, and then south. I'm still debating if we should have paid parking or not. That's my only.
Right, I just broke those 2 things apart. We can come back to that later
Yeah,
if it made sense, but first we need to designate where parking is,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I think
where it's
that's-
allowed, and staff could create a design for, to try to design it safer for people to park.
I
where
think
they are
that's
now,
worth-
rather than just pulling in the grass.
Yeah, right now it's just
It's
free-for-all.
Kind of chaotic.
Okay. Did you get all the feedback you needed?
I
And
did, yeah.
You feel
Thank
like you got it? Next up, Ed, private parking in the right-of-way.
Okay, Mayor Council, we've had this code since, I'm guessing, early 80s. There wasn't a lot of documentation on it because we lost all our files when Town Hall flooded in the 80s or 90s down by the marina. But essentially the code says, hey, if your house was built prior to 1980, then you can get a public parking space designated in front of your house. And we wanted these 2 items together because we're all talking about town right-of-way here. But there were a lot of stipulations that were put in place back in, I'll just say 1980, around that time. that are very problematic. And there's only a few of these left, and we wanted to see if we could start moving forward on resolving this issue. We've talked to you a little bit about it in the past. Some of the issues is right now it requires, one of the stipulations is you have to be a year-round resident. So it couldn't be like an Airbnb or something like that to live there. So we do, from time to time, have somebody ask if they can have this, and you've heard a few recently. And we ask them to sign an affidavit, and most of the time, that's what gets them. They're like, okay, you know, they're signing an affidavit swearing that they live there or that's a year-round resident, and most of them don't. You know, usually it's, we find out that's usually what gets them. But in the end, there's no way for us to, there's not a good way for us to track that. Like if they actually do live there, then next year they don't, and they're Airbnb, and you know, that's not, nobody's tracking that. And then the ordinance says you have to be able to park a car on private property. For us, that just means you need to have a 9x18 space where you can get to off of private property, because that's what a parking place is in our zoning ordinance. So clarifying that could be helpful. And then there's another one, anyone could make an agreement to accommodate parking within 500 feet. I don't see how anybody couldn't meet this criteria, and it's so subjective that basically, okay, can you work out an agreement with somebody within 500 feet, or is there some parking within 500 feet? How would anybody ever get a sign? It just makes, but anyway, that was put in place in 1980. And then fire and police, where it'd have to evaluate. I'm assuming they would evaluating to make sure there was no issue, like the parking place wasn't in a drive out. It doesn't give any other explanation there. So currently what we have is there's 3 single-family residents that have signage. That's all that's remained. And I've worked with a couple of staff, Sheila's helped me a little bit on auditing these over the years, literally like the past 20 years. And so they've whittled down. There's 1 2-family resident that has 2 signs, and one that we put a picture in your packet. They're obviously a VRBO. I mean, you can go on VRBO and see that they're a short-term rental. And then the last one, one is up on the north end, and they are getting ready to be redeveloped. So, and they're planning to put parking underneath. So that one resolves itself.
So you're down to 2? Is that what
So we're literally down to 2, and those 2 homes, it's unclear whether they are year-round residents or not, whether they're meeting the current code or not. They're both under estate or LLCs. I think one's one, one's the other one. And so I've talked to one in the past. I just don't know if that's
Charlotte Ave?
there's 2 on Charlotte. Yes.
John, he's Spectrum News. I know it's just a small town that you'd know what he does and what his name is, but
So
you narrowed it down.
oops. So enforcement. Enforcement is an issue. I talked to, there's one on Lake Park Boulevard, and I talked to them years ago. I don't know if it's the same owner, because it was years ago. What do you do if somebody parks in the town right away in your spot? And they're like, well, we have the car towed. So that's a huge issue for everybody. They should not have a car towed. They're taking on a ton of liability having it towed out of the town's right of way.
Well, it's not on their property, so how do they even authorize the towing company to tow them?
And how are the police,
$300, that's
if it's, there's no way to track for a police officer to say, well, is this a renter? Is this the person that lives there? Is this a guest? If a police officer goes and they say, hey, they're not supposed to be there, like, they're not going, they don't know. There's no way to know. So, so we didn't like that aspect of it.
There's 2 properties here, Ed, right? I mean, could they get
It's going to be down to 2.
LPR a different, like a caveat, like a Victor or some designation that would be applicable to 2 vehicles in town. Maybe one way to do it. Where the only people who should be involved in any kind of towing activity, right, would be enforcement, parking enforcement.
I'd say you only got 2 houses left doing this. I wouldn't guarantee them anything. Say, well, we're not going to tow anybody out of your spot. You can have your sign, but we're not going to promise you
In
anything.
terms of, should this vehicle be in that designated spot?
So I'll just give you our thought was, if they are illegally constructed prior to 1980, which right now there's 4, but it's going down to, there's some enforcement we'll have to do on the VRBO and remove theirs. And the other one's getting redeveloped. It could be that ordinance that is so convoluted, it could be limited to 1980, and if they don't have enough room for a 9x18 space, we give them a parking pass, a free parking pass. That you don't have to worry about an LPR or any, well, it would be LPR.
Well, they'd be
But
not caveated.
but yeah, they would know that they're if you did buy LPR for that space, then you'd have to know all the cars that they're going to use to park there, and that would be.
And so, yeah, because there's town parking, I'm thinking of the one on Charlotte, about 50 feet up with bumper stops, where you could park.
Right.
Reasonable distance.
Right. So we're looking for direction from council. Do you, if we're going to bring this back, we feel like we need to notify them. We could give them a timeline, like a sunset clause or in the ordinance, or we could just notify them saying, hey, this is getting changed, or we
It's
could
going to
do
be
nothing.
November till parking enforcement, March 1st, maybe?
I like what you come up with, to be honest with you. I think that's a reasonable. First off, if you're down to 2, this has been a problem for many, many years. It can easily also, from our side, can become political as to who gets and doesn't get, and it's like, especially when the rules are as loose as they are. So I like what you've presented. Get rid of them, give them some transition period, and then, but if you are in one, if you meet the current criteria and you have one of these spots, we will give you a residential parking pass, which will allow you to park anywhere nearby. Because most of these are in non-conforming areas near the central business district, I assume. So, I like I like your proposal.
Okay.
Anybody?
I agree.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, were you working for the town in 1980 when this was put together? It seems like it's been here a long, long time.
Yeah.
Before the records were lost.
I'm with Lynn on this. I agree, Lynn. I like your proposal. We're down to 2, right? Basically down to 2 people.
Thank you, Ed. I'm good.
And then
Okay.
stop.
While we're on that one, can someone look? I don't know who marked the spaces in front of the house on Cape Fear across from the Napa place, but there is a huge amount of pavement there that is marked no parking. Now, I understand we had to leave the 2
It was during construction.
driveways, but man, I feel like we could put 4 cars in there. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awkward. I know.
With the yellow.
Yes.
I believe he got a driveway permit, didn't he, Jeremy, the one they're
Yeah,
talking
well, there's
about?
2 driveway permits on each end of the property. If that's one property, can you get 2 driveway permits, or is it 2 properties?
It's 2 properties, and they applied for a 36-foot wide driveway for each property.
Okay.
Which is the max that you can have.
Okay, but then what about all the space in the middle?
I don't know if there was enough room in the space in the middle.
There's definitely room. It might only be 1 parking space, but there's room for something. I just asked that you look at it. It just looks odd. It's not consistent with how everything else was done there. Okay, next up is the review implementation of one-way plan for Canal Drive.
I close the business today. Yeah, no, that's not true. It isn't happening today. Keyword is review.
All right, Mayor, Council, we've been talking to you probably a couple years about this proposal. Actually, different councils we've been talking over 10 years about, probably 20 years about this, is looking at options for doing a one-way design. When we redid Cape Fear and Canal Drive, that we had traffic engineers look at it. At that time, we ended up going back with the same configuration, but as it gets more and more popular downtown, public safety, you've seen it, we're interested in trying something new. So we talked about putting this in, and we've ordered everything to do it, putting in a temporary, that almost looks permanent, is what we heard from council, but could easily be turned back for the next few months and give this a try. What it would do is make the stoplight at Harper and Canal flashing, and we'd bag the ped heads for the winter. If it looked like something that you wanted to work, we'd have to have that re-engineered to get the ped heads and the light reconfigured for the three-way versus four-way traffic at that intersection. And you would have the turnaround over here on Cape Fear. You can see the little stanchions that you'd have blocking the area off. They wouldn't come out quite that far. We'd work with fire department on it because we still need to make that turn with the fire trucks, so we'd probably push those back a little bit, but it would create a loading and unloading space here. As you know, we've got a tremendous problem with that, the trucks coming up on our sidewalk, damaging our sidewalk for loading and unloading, and so this could resolve that issue. We still have our loading and unloading up on Raleigh, and then we would have parking here. When this wasn't being used for loading and unloading, we could continue to utilize it similar to this area down here. So that would open up during this as part of the turnaround.
For like a taxi solicitation or when not, there's, loading times typically early morning.
Right. We were
Or
thinking
unloading, rather.
public safety personnel, but you could potentially have something like that. I think those details, if you wanted to do it permanent, we could figure those details out. But for now, we were just saying, okay, it's just like loading and loading morning, afternoon, just public officials, and then you have the extra parking here.
So Ed, question, so the loading, unloading, because trucks don't, I think they stop unloading like at 4 or 5 o'clock. Is it possible to turn that into paid parking after 5 o'clock?
You absolutely could. Yeah, you could design it however you wanted.
And
Again,
I
we're
know
just-
it's not, I'm looking up, like Jay was saying, there's spots, yep, great, and there's your 760, some to your 767 may create space.
Yeah, but we need to reserve something for police, because right now they park in that curve there,
In the roundabout.
and they won't be able to park there anymore. So that's what we thought over that loading, after the loading period,
Yeah.
police or town vehicles that needed to be there would have a spot.
And I guess you could do something similar on Raleigh in certain spots, correct?
I like that, Bruce. I like the use by the public safety people. I mean, obviously, more parking in there is good. So, the loading and, define loading and unloading?
It is, typically, it would occur on private property. So loading and unloading would be any truck delivering stores to a business. So it could also be UPS, FedEx, something like that, anybody parking to deliver or pick up stores. And, you just, well, when you're hearing when projects are coming before you, they're designing those on their site. In our downtown area, you don't have that ability because they don't have access to parking and on your boardwalks. So in this area only, we try to accommodate it in public right-of-ways.
So if I pull up in my car and Jay's going to load 2 dozen donuts in my car, is that loading and unloading?
That would be patron of a business only. It's for loading and unloading
Commercial purposes?
of stores.
I'm just trying to figure out where the line is, because I promise you they will find the line.
Right.
We could put commercial.
Commercial purposes.
Commercial loading and unloading or public service vehicles, something.
And part of it's to give input today, but also to, as it's up the next few months, is to see what does and doesn't work.
You have a drawing of my idea, Ed?
So I was trying to get there.
Wait, hold on.
So I have a quick question on the picture you have up, Ed.
Okay.
Hoffer roundabout.
So at the end of Canal at Harper, you show in your drawing you can turn right, left, or go straight. But then there's a no left turn sign there. What is that no left turn sign?
If you're coming off of,
It's facing that. I got it. I was seeing it as facing the traffic going north, and I was like, what?
If you
there'll be another one facing coming down Harper.
I got you.
If you're looking at that stoplight, they've got those up on the wire for the stoplight. They have those signs that
We'd have to say
change.
no left turn there.
Yeah, they'll all have to change, tweak a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
gotcha. Okay.
so do we have? I don't- Okay.
There you go.
So
You
the other
also
item,
showed-
we've met with y'all individually, most of you individually, and one of the ideas that we heard Councilmember Hoffer specifically talked to us about was if we keep this design but make this, instead of having loading and unloading over here, it could you could have a bicycle lane that would go both ways in this aisle on the west side.
Nope, that's not what I said.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
That should be a southbound lane. Let me look what you're doing there, guys. There's parking spots, okay, along the sidewalk there. How am I supposed to ride my bike southbound? I got to ride my bike southbound against traffic in a one-way road there.
It's against the law to do.
That's what you're forcing people to do in that scenario. Not to mention you're putting cars up on that curb. That's where the pedestrians are. That's why people are parking up on the curb. These trucks loading and unloading. So you're you're making the problem worse because you're asking them to load and unload on the side where we have a nice raised 6-foot sidewalk, and they're going to keep pulling up on it. So what it should be is you put a double yellow line down, not down the middle, sort of offset a bit, that allows a one-way lane of bikes going south. And then if you're on a bike going north, you just do that in the drive aisle with the cars. And then any loading and unloading should be along the northbound lane there, along the backside of those boardwalk places. There's a 4-foot sidewalk there, but it's level with the road, and that's where most people are doing their loading and unloading now anyway. It's northbound, so you pull off to the right a little bit and you load and unload. And in the morning when you're loading and unloading, if you're nudged out into the drive aisle a little bit, whatever, people can just pull around you. It's no big deal.
The difference, maybe I don't understand what you're saying, Mike. The difference I see here, so you're saying put you want to put the loading, unloading on the east side.
On the east side.
Okay, the problem with that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties along there will have to have driveways effectively. right? So you can't do unload. I mean, if I own, let's go to this first property where I still call it Allen Sportswear. The new arts place right there. See where that car is parked? Just so you can't park a truck behind there because you're blocking their access, right? I mean, that's the problem I see with putting the loading. I do like the
That's
loading
where
and
people are
unloading.
doing it now. They're doing it already. And they're loading and unloading on Raleigh. Raleigh's still there for people.
Yeah, I just think it's much clearer because you have that sidewalk over there. There's no driveways coming in. I'm gonna call them driveways loosely on the side. That, again, I'm not advocating for or against. That was just.
Well, we're doing this to make downtown more bike and pedestrian friendly, and then so we're going to tell bikes that you got to ride one way in the wrong direction against traffic. I mean, think about what we're asking people to do. That does, you got to start there and say we're not going to do that.
Council, the bicycles are supposed to follow the traffic route, so they're not supposed to go down a one-way street. And our concern is if you have with the bike lane, you're encouraging bicyclists to go against traffic, which is a safety concern, and liability concern, without having it separated and having some physical barrier between the bike lane and
Well, I'm
the
not
traffic.
sure what Mike's proposal looks like up here.
It would be the bike's going south and the car's going north.
So you got a 6-foot sidewalk on the west side, okay? Then you've got a 5-foot southbound only bike lane. Then you've got a double yellow down the middle, and you've got a nice wide northbound lane for vehicles only, and they could share that with loading and unloading. Like, if you're loading and unloading, you're just pulling off to the side, you're nudging into the traffic lane. You could say loading, unloading, from 8 to noon only or something like that, so that you're not even doing that during high traffic times.
Usually that's, yeah.
Yeah,
People,
because
we
I
can
mean-
share this road. There's enough room to share the road. The loading and unloading happens
But then why
what
not
morning?
just do nothing, Mike? Why not? Why do anything? I mean, I heard what you said, but I'm just trying to picture it in my head. It looks like, I mean, if you're going to leave that as a southbound traffic lane, whether it's bikes or cars or
Well, southbound for bicycles only.
what's the,
You've got to leave a lane for the bikes to ride south. I mean, you're not going to ask a bike to ride around the block. Let's be realistic here. They're not going to do that. So you leave a 5-foot lane right next to the sidewalk so bicyclists can ride south and not be going head on into cars.
so basically what you're saying is make the westbound lane of Canal between Cape Fear and Harper a multi-use path.
Essentially.
That's essentially what you're saying.
The west,
You're just using the space we have.
southwest.
Right? There's currently, it's 2 ways, so you can allow a southbound lane for bikes only right beside the sidewalk.
So,
Mike, you're saying here,
right?
Yes,
that way.
Yeah.
that's the west side.
The bump outs are still there, except at least there's a gap in the bump.
There are no bump outs.
No, right, what's it like?
There shouldn't be. There's no need for it. You use whatever you use to keep cars from going southbound on that. You don't need all these stupid things blocking that bike lane. What's the point of them?
So, Mike, when I look at your proposal, I don't see how, well, first off, let me just note that we're solving two different problems. One problem was to solve traffic flow and public safety, and the other one is creating a bike lane. Not that those can't overlap, but two different problems we're trying to solve. But when I look at your solution, I think then you may as well just close that street off. Because, no,
It's still allowing northbound traffic.
no, not when there's a truck parked in the middle of it, you're not.
Yeah, that's not a 10-foot lane anymore. It's like a 15-foot lane. The truck can park off to the side and you can go around it. There's room.
So I'm all about connectivity. I'm all about bikes. I ride a bike every place. But there is a point where business has to continue as a town. You have to have an unloading zone for trucks. You have to. It's jam-packed down there all the time. And if you want to take away 4 parking spaces, revenue-wise, those are prime spots, and they will be full all the time.
We just picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on Harper, right around the corner. Those are parking spaces you're showing up there on Harper, right, Ed? Those angle in?
Yeah, Jeremy put those in. Those would not go in with this temporary design, though. They were on the design we showed y'all if we ended up getting this property over here. If we did this as a permanent design, I think we could probably put those in.
Yeah, but there's 3 spots there already.
That's a net.
There's two parallel?
Yeah.
2 parallel here right now, and if we do the temporary, one of those parallel will go away just while we're doing the temporary over the winter.
Right.
And then if you wanted to do this permanently, we could probably do this angle that Jeremy showed on his sketch.
You could steal a few off Raleigh as well. I know it's separate from the topic.
But you know, bikes still have the sidewalks also. I know, yeah, people use the sidewalks. I understand that piece. I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes we need to make it, I'm not gonna say a business decision over connectivity, but, I mean, our businesses rely on these trucks unloading. And they're not gonna all unload there.
Yeah, I think I'm in the, if you ask me to choose today, I'm in the do nothing or do what Ed's proposing.
So I think we do this, we take a look at it, and then, you know,
Well, that was what we said all along, right?
Right.
Was we just wanted to try it
Yeah,
and see
this
how
is-
the flow worked. Obviously, we're not gonna be painting lines and all that stuff, I assume, right? You're right.
There-
on the-
so
There won't be thermoplast, but there'll be some paint going down.
Okay, but temporary.
It
Trial
can be
run on this,
temporary.
Bruce said,
Trial run.
See, keep in mind, there is 20 foot of asphalt and 4 foot of sidewalk, okay? That's 24 feet, okay? Not counting the 6 foot sidewalk on the west side. I'm saying 20 foot of asphalt and 4 foot of sidewalk. That's 24 feet, all right? So if you use 5 feet for a bike lane going southbound only, that leaves you with 19 feet. There's enough room for unloading and a loading and unloading vehicle to pull off to the side and for somebody to go around them
Where's the side they're gonna be pulling off on?
to the east side.
There is no side.
There's 4 foot sidewalk out there.
well, hey,
there is a sidewalk out there.
There is right of way to do it. The numbers add up.
It's a 25-foot right-of-way there. I think we're using all of it. Or 24 feet of it.
where's the lot line comes right out to the end of the property line, is it designated by where the? I'd have-
Right on the edge
get
of
out and
that
walk the
sidewalk, I
point,
believe.
but
And you-
the sidewalk, Ed, or?
Right on the edge, yeah.
You
So
may
the
have to-
sidewalk is on private property.
No, I think that's ours.
Yeah, and I think we have an ordinance that doesn't allow you to park on,
Well, that's the thing,
Sidewalk.
is what Mike is saying, they can pull over onto the sidewalk.
which they're doing now.
Right.
On both sides, they do, but.
Which is, that is illegal. You can't park on the sidewalk. And we've been, I think this would help with enforcement if we had the
Well,
designated.
is it really technically a sidewalk or is it just part of the drive aisle that's concrete? Because it's not raised. It's not but it's not a vertical step down from the sidewalk to the road. It's a level plane.
It-
So was that really count as sidewalk? No. It's just a different surface.
Yeah, having the flush sidewalk is not something we would recommend moving forward. I
Right.
mean, so, we've been through it before with Ocean. There needs, if you have it immediately adjacent to your road, you have to have the 6-inch curb like you have out here on Lake Park. If you don't, remember on Ocean, DOT required us to have that setback. We'd want to see the same thing. So this was here just a long time ago, so we wouldn't.
So the property lines, course, right up, there's no setbacks at all. The property lines are the buildings themselves, or
They're right up to
curious
that,
to see. I think
it's
they're
up
right
the
up to that sidewalk.
right up, okay. So, that, hence the sidewalk looking,
That,
2 feet one place, 6 another maybe, or.
All right, so you can pull off to the side with your wheels on the, I'm not going to call it a sidewalk. I'm going to call it the concrete portion of the road. Because
Right.
it's not a dang sidewalk, guys. It's just a different surface.
so what we.
You can pull off to the
I
side
can
on that
promise you-
concrete portion of the road, and there is room to go around you.
I can promise you, from a pedestrian's perspective, that's a sidewalk. You call it what you want.
But first of all, that loading and unloading is going on in the morning when there's there's very little traffic and/or pedestrian bike traffic. And second of all, on the other side of the street, there is an actual sidewalk. It is 6 foot wide and it is raised from the road. Okay, that's a sidewalk. That's the place to use. And nothing, look, at night, nothing's changing because you're not doing loading and unloading. You're not going to be loading and unloading your, big truck at 5 o'clock on a Thursday night in the middle of the summer. That's already done. There's no loading and unloading that time of day. So nothing changes during the high traffic time of day. So the only time you got loading and unloading is in morning and early afternoon. It's irrelevant.
Ed, has someone, MPO or traffic engineer or somebody other than us looked at this?
We told Councilmember Hoffer that too. We would let y'all discuss it, and this plan actually came from Kimley Horn. We tweaked it a little bit, but it's basically the recommended. If y'all wanted to look at Councilmember Hoffer's plan, then we would recommend having a traffic engineer, give it to them to draft up how it would.
So that,
Anybody wants to go out there on a field trip with me, I'll be glad to show you.
oh, I've walked this a million times. I don't want to short circuit. I kind of like what you have here, but I also don't want to short circuit what Mike's trying to accomplish. Just because I don't quite understand it, it's not, to me, it's a bad idea. What do we think? The problem is timing, right? So if we don't try this now, this ain't happening next year, right? In other words, it's so if we go back and have a traffic engineer, unless it can happen quickly, does that jeopardize the schedule of doing anything this off-season?
We can reach out to somebody really quick. I mean, I do believe they're going to discourage having a bike lane go against traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, anything I've read pretty much says not without some kind of barrier, physical barrier between that lane of traffic. So, but
Yeah,
we can
let's-
reach out and get their opinion.
Let's do that. I
Okay.
think, just because I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, Mike, I don't quite understand why you're doing what you're doing, but I trust Mike I'm sure he's thought about this a whole lot more than I have. So let's at least
Yeah.
look at what and that way we can have a picture of both of them and then compare the next time this comes back to us. Is that doable?
Yeah.
When do you need us to make a decision? Then
We-
we'll work back from that.
Yes.
Yes, soon, because we were ready to do this now. I mean, we've ordered the stuff. We can do it either way, but yeah, I guess November 12th we would need.
Well, I'll talk with the traffic engineer, get their take on, I've got a copy of what Mike's proposed, and let them review both and do that, and I will reach out to y'all individually and discuss it, and then. we can
Okay.
just
I-
go
yeah,
from there.
I like
And then
that.
bring it, whatever you
If
bring
we need
that
to go
forward.
forward, yeah.
I just think it's worth,
Bring 'em sleeping.
I think it's worth getting an engineer's eyes on what Mike is proposing, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Because what Mike's talking about is, and I'm looking at it now, is connectivity between the boardwalk and the marina. That was something that for, I
Yep.
think, years back was an objective. Now that we want to.
But Bruce, but our goal, I think, I just want to be clear, but our goal is to bring this back in November for direction, for some sort of consensus.
Well, I mean, like Ed said, we're ready to go right now on this, but that's what I'll say. I'll talk to the engineer, I'll provide the feedback to council, and, because you sort of direct us to do this beforehand, but go back, and if there's, traffic engineer says Mike's idea is the best, I'll tell y'all. and then
So
we'll
do you
bring it
want
back.
direction from us now to go forward with this unless you come
Yeah, I think we've gotten direction to do the first
Okay,
plan.
okay. I'm good with
But
that.
I'm going to go to the engineer, and if he says Mike's plan works and it's a great idea, then
Then
we'll
we
bring
gotta
that back to
circle back.
council.
Okay, I like
But
it.
I'll give you the feedback from engineer either way before we do
Okay,
anything.
I like that. You like that?
I do. Since we're on this slide, if you take a look at Cape Fear and we brought up parking, all those bump outs, why are they there? I mean, do we need those bump outs? Plus, they're on both sides.
They should all be gone.
I agree with you, Jay. There's something we
Rid of
agree on.
them. There, Jay, here's your money.
I will tell you, I've talked to business owners on there too, and they, at least two, agree that they serve no purpose. And it's just the idea, I think, was originally was for landscaping to dress it up, but we really don't have a program for managing that. There's not water there. It's all kinds of issues.
We've sort of changed that, though. We've
Right.
corrected
And
all that.
Furthermore, there's a couple bump outs on Harper that could disappear. That's come up not long ago about how ugly they look and why. But we brought it up. We talked about it in beautification about whether we should do something, and then there's that water issue. And
Now, if the bump outs are serving some of
the answer to me is get rid of them. You can see it on there at the very top on Harper there. They do nothing.
Maybe Ryan's team can pick up one of those bump outs and walk it to Wilson and then get resolved.
with the plants already in it.
They can make this stuff disappear.
No, I'm being facetious, but.
You notice how he asked?
There we go.
He asked you, Bruce. He didn't ask
He
me.
wanted to put something on the record.
I will allow it.
A veiled threat.
So if we need decisions, time is of the essence. I've ordered all the signs and all the things to do the one way. And those bump outs, ironically, since you brought that up, I've already pulled the trigger on that to like lower all those where the water, the stormwater, whatnot will go into
On
them.
Harper?
On Cape Fear along here. So just to, I don't want, hearing that, and then next week you see construction company over there digging those things down to make them the way they should have been all along. But that's
They're gonna act
blowing
more
all
as
the
a rain
irrigation,
garden.
put
Okay,
right.
so you already have a plan in place to make those.
I've pulled the trigger on the plan and it's moving
Okay.
forward.
How about the
so,
ones on Harper?
yeah. Not Harper, no, one step at a time.
Make
One
those
step at a
guys
time.
make those
Yeah, one step at a
disappear
time.
while
But I just want to start here and get it done because we just got a lot of challenges over there.
Hang on, with this confusion. So Brian, I just want to go back over. What you are currently in play is to cut those bump outs down, leave them as a landscape
Yeah.
area, but self-irrigate and absorb runoff. So it'd be permeable surface there, but it would,
So the challenge is here is in those beds
Don't
on
lead the
Cape Fear.
witness.
I'm just asking what he said.
Well, in those beds right there, if you'll notice, like some of the realtor groups and all that stuff, they'll go in and volunteer and plant these plantings.
Yeah.
And the irrigation in those areas is not working right. That was put in when those beds were put in back 10 years ago. And at the time, the bed should have been inset too. They were raised. So now it all spills out, erosion occurs, it all goes out into the road. So we're going to leave the curb line, take everything out of it, drop it down below the curb line, reinstall the irrigation, have it in a working manner, put in dedicated areas to where volunteers want to come in and do plantings. They put the plants right there where that goes, and there's irrigation there, and it'll live, and we don't see people, walking down the street with a red wagon trying to water plants. So that's the plan.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
I think we
You
should,
good?
I still think we should get rid of them.
But then, since you're standing up there, Brian,
Yeah.
you note that
He's
big bump out at
got a
the
plan.
very end of Cape Fear, that's blocking this plan.
That is revenue. Boom, 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 boom.
That,
Well,
I'm with you on that, Jay. I truly am. That big bump out at the end of Cape Fear is in the way of this.
yeah, no, you're right, and
Yes.
I'm not against the bike lane on that road. Honestly, I'm not smart enough to determine that. We need an engineer to determine that, because I just see a lot of liabilities. I just learned being here for a while, it's just see a lot of liabilities. I see cars coming off on Raleigh, expecting traffic to go one way and a bike come through the other, and somebody's flattened.
Well, I
That's
hadn't
what
thought
I
about
see.
that.
So, and the same at the end of Cape Fear. So, I need Kimberly Horn or somebody to
All right.
sell us on that.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
So Bruce, I just want to make sure, so the direction you've already been given by council is you're going forward with this plan, the trial of this plan, let's call it what it is, unless you can get feedback if you get positive feedback from the traffic engineer of Mike's idea, then maybe you'll loop back with all of us
I'll
and say,
get the
hey, would
comments
you
from the-
prefer this
yeah.
one?
I'll get the comments from the engineer and give them to council and then discuss before we do
Okay.
anything.
And then on Brian's thing, we got sidetracked on the bump outs. I think I think you're hearing from council that there is a desire to remove those bump outs, but since you already have a plan in place, I'm okay trying. They've been there for a long time, so seeing if this works better, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work, I think your direction
Yeah,
from
we need to
council-
budget for that too.
Yeah,
'cause
but
that would be,
it's gonna be too late. I mean, once they do this with the new irrigation, you think those bump outs are going anywhere for the next 10 years?
Don't know.
No, they're not.
I don't know.
I think,
But
Well, if
we
you
would
want
need
to
a budget
change,
to
we need to
remove-
tell them to change right now.
yeah.
Well, I think I'm trying to do that.
I agree.
well,
All right, make a motion, Jay.
Yeah.
If you
well,
want
we
those,
don't, well, we'd have to budget, we don't have in the budget to remove those.
Well-
Cause you gotta remove them, you gotta re-asphalt, you
gotta
gotta there's a lot more to
Right,
it
right.
than
It's not as
digging them
simple,
up.
so.
It's an expensive endeavor.
okay, so it's not happening right now.
Okay.
So let's go with Brian's plan, and how about we add that to the agenda for our next retreat? Do you want these bump outs to go away, and then we can put it in the budget for next year, vote for it if that's what council wants?
Yes.
And
I'm
Is that
fine
good?
I'm fine with that.
Is that good?
One question. There's no new additional bump outs depicted on Cape Fear, correct? And if there are, can we kill those now? Okay. 'Cause
New?
I'm looking at, no, I'm saying there's none. I just want to make sure there aren't any new ones. Because I see a dizzying number.
Yeah, Joe is saying there's nothing in here that's
Yeah.
new.
Hasn't been,
Right, okay.
I'm going to be bumped
All
out
right,
in my front
I'm good
yard.
with that. Does that work for you, Bruce? Got what you need?
I see $40,000 in parking.
So why is it always that the easiest things turn out not to be the easiest thing? Next up is text amendment discussion to amend side setback exceptions. Jeremy?
All right, winding down, I promise, it's probably past Deb's bedtime by now.
This is a workshop in all its glory.
Oh, yeah, let's see.
That's how it's supposed to work though, right?
Yeah,
Supposed to have these
so,
discussions.
yeah, that's right.
Hey, Vince,
Yeah.
it's not too late, Vince.
Yeah. Vince thinks we're all crazy up here.
Vince,
right
you're not
now.
going to have anything to do next year.
This is, both planning and zoning and BOA had some discussion after they received a couple of variance requests for setback reductions for non-conforming lots. And specifically, some of the issue is when you don't have a 50-foot lot frontage. This is one of the example lots on Canal Drive. That's a 25-foot lot frontage, and asking for a reduction of setbacks. The standard for residential is 7.5 feet. But we looked at really it's lots less than, looked at non-conforming lots and then looked at the lot width that doesn't meet the standard 50-foot width, which in 1913, the town was platted in 50-foot lots. We had our first subdivision ordinance in the 70s, so kind of between, 13 and the 70s, things got, sometimes the neighbor wanted to borrow some land from the other neighbor, and they sold it to them. So we looked at now what we have far as lots that are less than 50 feet in width, and we have 55 lots in town. So 4 of them actually they have structures on there that meet the setbacks. Only 7 are vacant. 44 have existing structures on them and are just non-conforming because they encroach into a setback. They're built prior to the regulation. So out of those less than 50, we're looking at 0 to 30. It's 12 properties, and 3 of those are vacant. The width of 31 to 40 is 27, and width 41 to 50 was 16. We broke that out because it seemed like on if a corner lot, if you have a duplex on there, the width of each building is 15 feet. So we're like, well, if you could build a duplex 15 foot wide, then why wouldn't you be able to build a single family that wide as well? So we're really focusing on looking at an ordinance that would address the 30-foot width properties. And that is because you currently have a 7.5-foot setback, And if you have a 25-foot width building or lot, then that gives you only a 10-foot structure for how wide it could be. Staff reviewed the ordinance at technical review committee and said, well, what about if we went to a 5-foot setback? Then that would give you the 15-foot wide structure to be able to build on. So it's something. So when we reviewed the 5-foot side setback option, we also, with that, we currently allow for several encroachments within our existing setback. We accommodate for HVAC platforms, steps going up to the meters, outdoor showers. We do cantilever bump outs. There are some allowances there. So the ordinance wouldn't allow for any of these bump outs within that 5-foot setback. It would just be clean 5 foot. That's what you have. We did review that at TRC. In the blue here is the specific ordinance language. They did have some safety concerns trying to maneuver and getting ladders up to upper floors with just a 5-foot setback. It does narrow that down, and they would have difficulty servicing, for multi-story buildings with a ladder setbacks are less than 7.5 feet. And of course, most of these are older platted lots and are in a flood zone, so they would have to be elevated. And most of the development.
Some would be obviously needing a permit from coastal management. I imagine CAMA would apply. CAMA setbacks would apply to.
If it's adjacent to the water,
Right.
they would. So that's kind of, we discussed this briefly at the council retreat. This is one of the things that planning and zoning wanted staff to look at, and we wanted to get feedback from town council on if we wanted to proceed with an ordinance or not, kind of based off of a proposed ordinance that would to address for non-conforming lots, to reduce the setbacks, or for when you don't have a 50-foot lot frontage, or in this case, anything less than 30 feet. But there were some concerns from public safety for reducing setbacks.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, what you're asking us for today is not to reduce the setbacks. You're just asking us if we want you to go look at this problem, get P and Z together, planning,
And bring back some options.
and bring back some options. That's what you're asking today?
Yes, sir.
So, is that the end of your presentation?
Yes.
I just didn't want to
That's
cut
all
you.
I have.
My concern with this is, as there's going to be more and more pressure to redevelop these non-conforming lots, and I worry about this creating a large caseload for Board of Adjustment and inconsistency in applications of the rules. You understand what I mean? In other words, I don't really think we want to dump this on Board of Adjustment to figure it out. And then I think if we apply the rules differently, much more likelihood of lawsuits and various things like that, people coming toward us. So I personally would rather see planning and zoning and community development organizations sit down and say, what are the rules in these non-conforming lots? And then that way, and then council can approve that, and then we give clear direction on what's allowed. Is that making sense? I'm just worried about, imagine if you had 45 one-offs go to Board of Adjustment, people trying to do various things on their property, and some they allow and some they don't allow, and they apply, because there's no set rule, right? I would rather see it looked at holistically. Does that make, Mike, you were on planning and zoning?
I'm not quite following you. I mean, if you set a setback, I mean, I can understand being a little more flexible with the setbacks, but you set it, and that's the setback. So what's the
I know, but what
Board
I'm
of
saying
Adjustment
is,
issue?
council should, ultimately, they should bring something to council, and maybe we put our foot down and say, no, this is what it's supposed to be. I'm not pushing it one way or the other. I'm just saying, I don't want to leave it vague if there's any vagueness to Board of Adjustment. And you said there's already been cases going to Board of Adjustment.
There is, and their standpoint was, well, you know, this probably needs to be handled more as a text amendment with these lots moving forward rather than variances.
Yeah, there was a case on May 22nd that was denied, and you're right. They could have 41 more cases just like this.
Yeah, that's troubling. Not to mention the distance now, 5 feet, the setbacks and, you know, fire emergency access. And this isn't a place like when, you know, for instance, in a highway business, the two are different. If the argument was to be made, well, you did trade space on your side setbacks. We'll give you a bigger one here and a smaller one there. This is entirely different, and it applies to residential zones. Is that accurate? Yeah.
So I think we can, just want to take a look at 30 feet or less is 26 lots. 31 to 40 feet, 29, 41 feet or greater, 17. You know, I can almost see doing this with the larger lots, but with the one that's 30 feet or less, I mean, that is not a lot of room, especially when I see that picture of that ladder. What?
Well, yeah, imagine if you go in there and you know, you could build a, basically, and I don't mean this from a stylistic, but basically like stacked up mobile, 3-story mobile home stacked on top of each other. Very narrow, long, but then how does the Allen get to the roof of that thing?
You ever been up to Emerald Isle? They got those everywhere. I don't know. It must be because of the 25. It must have subdivided narrow lots.
Those things are weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of Allen, is there a fireman in it? There's Allen. I thought the 7.5 foot setback was all about keeping 15 foot between houses.
We, in the TRC, we file against reducing it, and the main reason, if you got a 5-foot setback between property lines and they put a fence in, it's gonna be almost impossible.
You can't get, and they had, and assume that they will, because they can.
And when we saw the issues that they're having, just from a public safety standpoint, us to be able to detect rescues out of windows would be almost impossible in a 5-foot setback, so.
It is, am I wrong when I say that? And it's also about 15 foot between structures, because it's less likely for the fire to jump from one to the other.
Well, that's,
You have a lot of concerns with neighbors too, that adjacent property owner had to meet a 7.5, and now another house is coming in.
oh,
So,
Imagine somebody building closer to the property line than you.
Yeah, you'd be pissed.
Right.
Was this generated, somebody sold the property, hey, yeah, don't worry about it, we can work through this with the town, I mean, expectations? How did this?
So, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
Did it come?
the one on Canal Drive is a property that was on the market and people were looking at building on it, so they were
Yeah.
wanted some relief there.
so
There was
Jeremy,
another one where they were trying to. They currently have the house, and that they were it needed some repairs, and they thought that it was too costly, that it really needed to be torn down and rebuilt.
is my
And that was one that was
concern,
already non-conforming, didn't meet the setback.
10-foot wide house. Well,
is
that's
my
narrow.
concern about this going, is that, I mean, I was just, my thoughts about, I just don't want to onesie-twosie these decisions, right? If we're going to allow something, it should come through council to allow it or don't allow it. Am I
Yeah,
making
and
sense?
that's what BOA, because they're in the position to say, you know, these variances, if it's the will of council, you know, we don't feel like they deserve or meet the criteria for maybe necessarily a variance, but if it's something that council wants to address and to look at, then codify it.
I say we don't allow it.
I would, I think you stick to what you got for all the reasons Alan mentioned.
Yeah.
But I would say if we can clarify the code, if it's not clear,
So they don't have the onesies and twosies.
so they don't have the onesies and twosies, I'm good with that. But if it's clear, then why do we want to do it? I don't hear any support up here for reducing the setbacks,
Okay.
right?
That's,
So,
and we just didn't want to, you know, go through this, you know, ordinance, regulations and adoption and going through these public hearings and then come back to you and it's like, why are we hearing this? So
Yeah.
we just wanted,
Well, think about what Ed said, and that's why I've always been skeptical about changing zoning and all these things through the years, because it creates winners and losers when we shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and I don't want Board of Adjustment. There's two issues I have with Board of Adjustment. Remember, this is unlike planning and zoning, it is planning and zoning is a citizens committee that makes recommendations to town council. Town council are elected by officials by the residents, right? So there's accountability. Planning and zoning is appointed by council, but they are the ultimate deciders before Superior Court. So I don't want to put them in a position, they're not elected officials. If we make a mistake or there's a slight variance, I think that's good. But if you start getting into things that they're onesie-twosying these setback discussions without understanding Alan's issues or, the public safety issues, then that concerns me. So I'm just trying to protect them and the town, right?
Opens the door for redevelopment and.
Exactly.
Max height and nose.
Okay. Did you get what you needed?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, council comments. I feel like we've heard from everybody today.
We've had our chances.
Mike, you want to go
Mike's got the
first?
day off.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll try and be fast, but Beautification Committee wants to look at enhancing the 3rd Street entrance to the lake. Can quickly, Bruce, Ed, what's the schedule? Is there somewhat of an update schedule on the pump house? At what point might the 3rd Street entrance be back open again anyway?
We did get an update yesterday that they were starting the floor. I don't know the update on 3rd Street though.
Yeah, I'd have to look at our schedule or whatever. But
Okay, let's not worry about it. I'm trying to be fast. On the topic of bike lanes and such, I was handed a picture of the Canal Drive bike lane, and it's covered in sand. And I know it flooded. I know, Brian. I drove up Canal this weekend, and I understand the economics about paving. I don't want to get into all of that. I did find that driving 20 miles an hour in my 20-year-old beater CRV, it wasn't all that bad. Nobody's going to like to hear me say that.
But Mike, I'm going to agree with you.
But we got to keep that bike lane clear. And I know it gets a lot of sand, but yesterday morning I go out in my backyard and there's the street sweeper going down Augusta and 5th Street. I don't even know if there's a catch basin there. I want to encourage you to keep that clear. People use it. The street sweeper or the brush truck or whatever you call that thing, they do quick work. Please don't forget about that. And then I also was talked to over the weekend with a business owner on Lake Park North, and I've talked about this before. I talk about it all the time about filling in the gaps of the sidewalk, and I encourage y'all as I get off council to not stop moving forward with the sidewalks over on the north side of Lake Park. So I guess this one's more for Bruce I'm just bugging you here again. We asked Proximity to run some sidewalks, they do it. We asked Proximity to put in a crosswalk, they do it. Now it's on us to complete it. Is there a price associated with applying for an encroachment easement with the DOT?
I don't think there's a cost, but no.
Is it a lot to say we want to start the process of putting in some sidewalks over here?
Maybe
is it
some engineering cost, but other than that, it shouldn't be.
I don't. Right. So it's not like it just doesn't seem like it's a huge price tag to start moving forward with the project. Just start planning, start asking for permission. If we don't start now, that's every day you delay is a day that it's not getting done in the future. So please. Done.
I will do this without editorializing. One, thanks for the 1200 block. This is to Ian and Dan. 1200 block C-band. The plans for catch basins, couple storm drains, conveyance. I saw it, got it, down Sand Dollar, presumably. And see what's waiting there. Georgia Bush from Coastal Federation will get back to me today. That was the question on the boat removal, Area 159, north end of the Sound, one that's been there for 9 months. They were to go and solicit bids for removal last week, this week, so get some clarification. Scotch Bonnet Canal, that gaping wound that's in the middle, thanks for expanding my situational awareness. There's more to it than just a pothole. Just looking for a rough timeline on the utilities that need to be dug up and maybe replaced underneath, because that's rather critical. And Mark, tomorrow I was going to meet with you and talk to you about some numbers, what we see coming out of proximity, the utility use, the steady state, the 4 to 5% increase that was expected from the 52 to the whatever. Maybe it was less. And against the backdrop of a hotel on C-band that, if done by right, yeah, got to come to us, but by right use or conditional, zone, what's the difference? I don't know that there's much. And I think we can go through those tomorrow. It clears things in an objective way, I think. Short-term rentals approach to me from a resident. To the owners, this is real for Noel, and you and I talked about it, Bruce. The owners do not get the notice of violation or a citation, the renters do, and it may not always get to the owners. I think owners ought to be notified that something's happening in their place, and that repercussions maybe after a certain number. I don't know, that's for another time. Finally, the bump out on, I can't get away from it, but the bump out on Wilson that's part of the redesign for traffic, just a timeline on that, and then removal, addition of signs. Thank you very much. That is all.
Jay?
All right, November 4th is Election Day. Please get out there and vote. It's very important. I've had the opportunity to go out and see the candidates that are running and some Q&As, and they are doing fantastic. The public is asking good questions. They have good answers, and they're going to be good. They're going to be good for the town, so keep on doing what you're doing. Proximity, real quick. We haven't talked about proximity in a while, but I will say it was a great decision on council whenever they made the decision to go with proximity. I go over there all the time. The residents love it. The businesses are doing great, and it's good for our town. And then the last thing is that the New England Patriots are still in first place. That's all I have.
That's hard to follow, Jay. Deb, can you follow that?
Oh,
Yeah,
roll
I'm on
Tide.
vacation. I'm on vacation.
And it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
And then
No, it's now 5:22 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost
All right.
time to get up.
Awesome. Did you have anything, Deb, or are you good?
No, I reiterate what Jay's saying. Just because you have uncontested seats open, please go vote, because it's important. It's very important.
100% agree. The only thing I had to add to what we've already talked about was there is so much misinformation about the Canal Drive issue. If you haven't been in this town for 20 years to understand the complexity, I don't know how to combat that. There's momentum to just pave it. Well, that's what you're riding on now, is the last time we decided to just pave it. It didn't work, right? So I don't know. It's a difficult problem. So maybe, Bruce, at the retreat, could we go through the history of Canal Drive? I'm just thinking we got new people coming on to council. They're pretty educated, but it would still be worthwhile to go through what has to happen in the full solution for Canal Drive, because if we don't keep that in mind, I worry that we're going to just pave it again, which is throwing money away, right? And my agreement with Mike is, yeah, so the road's bad. I mean, I don't think anybody's here defending the current situation on Canal Drive. But I drive it all the time at the speed limit. It's not horrible. It's not good, but it's not the crisis that people want you to believe. So I think it would be good to have a review, more of an, am I making sense? More of an engineering history of what's going on there. There's stormwater issues, there's water, sewer issues, and we have a history of not fixing the whole problem, and I don't want to see us do that again and waste money on it. I want it fixed. I just want it fixed in a fiscally controlled manner. Does that make
I'd say
sense?
Accelerate the projects that we've funded for the last couple of years. On those street ends, captain's quarters. I mean,
Yeah.
then you're getting to a point where it's hard not to do what, I'll say the right thing, but you've got to, it's never going to be void of water. Got it. There's parts of it that could be based on what was done at the east side of the marina with outfall into the sound that could be from Winter up to maybe past Dolphin, Fifth Street, that could be paved today as the segments are red still.
I think Joe has a good point, but what we've seen time and time again is when the misinformation swell happens on any issue, it's because we have not communicated the plan. If we communicated the plan, they can agree or disagree with the plan, right? I mean, we can argue about the plan. But usually what happens is the misinformation machine gets going because we didn't have a plan. And I think if we had a plan, I don't know if it's Canal Drive next year or Canal Drive in 2040, whenever, there should be a plan, right? And then we can all council can get behind that plan and speed it up, slow it down, fund it, not fund it, whatever they want to do. But I just see this big, it's almost like deja vu all over again, right? This big push to pave Canal. It's like, I don't want to see us put $2 million, if it's even that cheap, of asphalt down just to be complaining 3 years later that it's falling apart again, which is what happened last time. Right? Does that make sense? All right, that's all I had. I mean, I could probably find some other stuff, but we're all tired. So anyway, Deb, want to thank you for joining remotely. We all think you're crazy. You should be on vacation. But thank you anyway.
We thought you were crazy
important.
before.
And with nothing else, meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, guys.